As you practice making things smaller and working on those teeny tiny movements, it's easier for you to do and to practice. Hi friends, and welcome back to Grace Company Quilting. Today we're back talking about stippling, but this time we're gonna make it micro. So let me show you some examples of some micro stippling we have here. So this here is a brief example of micro stippling. You can see I just kind of did some little free motion flowers in here, and then in the background I did more of a puzzle piece meander type look. And this allows me to be able to make the flowers really stand out and almost puff out. You can see that they pop off the quilt top a little differently than the background does. So it can be a great technique if you're using applique or you're trying to make some part of your quilt stand out. Traditionally, we would use the same color as the background fabric for thread, but we really wanted you to be able to see as we're quilting. So I did go ahead and use Finesse in Snow White. Finesse is a 50 weight thread, 100% polyester, but it lints like cotton, so you get a nice homey feel to it. But for this, we're gonna go ahead and quilt in one of our bigger blocks. And we'll show you a couple of different techniques that you can use to really make your designs pop. We're gonna talk about how to scale your designs down, how to practice and make it simple. So we're gonna go ahead and fill in this block that we have here. So to start, we're gonna go ahead and, as usual, pull up our bobbin, move our bobbin thread out of the way. So we're gonna start by making a scallop that I would make in my traditional free motion quilting. It's gonna be big and simple. So I'm just gonna go ahead and make a large scallop. So we're gonna go ahead and practice scaling that design by half. So now that we've practiced scaling it down by half, we're gonna scale our half in half again, and we're gonna do it at a quarter size. So you can see how it's progressively getting smaller in that block here. Now I'm gonna half my quarter into a 1/16 size of this guy here. And then from there, if you want to get even smaller, we can do it in a 32nd. Now, I'm going to go ahead and increase my SPI as my design gets smaller, so I have it at a 16 SPI. And we'll just go ahead and fill the rest of this space with our micro stippling. Perfect, and now we've filled in the rest of our block with some nice texture. So for this, we're gonna go ahead and use the micro stippling foot. This is a part of the 3-piece hopping foot set, and it has a nice open toe so you can really get into the nitty-gritty and you can see everything around you. So you don't have to worry about the hopping foot covering up the area that you're quilting, but it's probably the smallest foot that we have, but it can do a lot of good. So let's go ahead and start stitching. We're gonna go ahead and bring up the bobbin and we'll begin stitching. So this was our first design. This is just our basic meander, and you can see where we start in the middle and move outwards, kind of track back and come all the way through. And that creates the texture for the puffiness of these little orange peels. Our next design was the pebbles, and you can see where it almost benefits you to go back and forth along that same stitch pattern because it makes the pebbles look thicker. So you can have different textures within one design. For our next one here, we just did a basic swirl, and you can see how easily it fills the space. Very similar to our puzzle piece meander here, the swirl makes it simple to fill a space with a technique you already know, it's fast, and it's simple. And then for our last one, we just did a scallop that turned into what I like to call dragon scales. And you can see, even in the little area where I messed up, it's not inherently noticeable, but it just makes it simple to do that easy scallop like we talked about to fill the space and add texture to our design. You can see how this block, our imaginary block here, really pops. One thing to note is if you wanted to make it extra puffy or really stand out, you could even do double batting or a higher loft batting. We're just using a simple 80-20, and it's a little bit thinner than our traditional batting, so it doesn't pop out as much, but you can still really see that design of the orange peel with the micro stippling in the background. One of the cool things that you can't really see in this design particularly is the stitching itself. So you can use the stitching to create texture, but you can also use the stitching to almost alter your fabric. So let's say I were to use a fabric slightly darker than this teal that we have here. I would be able to use a different colored thread that is going to be almost painted over it, and that would create a different texture and color to my fabric that I have here without taking away from the design of the orange peel that we talked about. As you practice making things smaller and working on those teeny tiny movements, you end up with better stitch quality, it's more even, and it's easier for you to do and to practice. Some important factors to take into account are your size. So as you're practicing this, because you don't learn to micro stipple overnight, it's not just quick, I learned it, I'm done. It's something that you have to practice at. But the important fact to remember about micro stippling is it's all about practice. Learn those muscle movements, get comfortable with it, and then you can practice your shapes. And it'll make all the difference. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Free Motion Basics. For more quilting content, don't forget to like and subscribe to Grace Company Quilting. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, find us everywhere, and share what you've created. We want to see your micro stippling, so don't forget to tag us in the posts that you make with Grace Company Quilting. Thanks so much and have a great day.